Network. It's the Commissioner Corner podcast. I'm your host, Bomber, joined by Lipp the Ripper, and we got Gibbs pulling the strings behind the scenes. That's right. It's episode number 10, January 12th, our second live show. Feeling really good. We're going to talk Rams today. We're going to be talking Randy Gregory, potential free agent from the Cowboys coming out. So we got that, a bunch more. And first, we're going to kick it off with a 2-minute drill with Lipp. So stay tuned for that and much more. All right, guys, as I mentioned, it's a big show. We're live again. And before we get into this 2-minute drill, Lipp, I want to first give a big shout out to Fry. Fry donated some 3-month Xbox Live gift cards or giveaways, and we're going to be giving one away today. That's right, a 3-month Xbox Live membership. Gold membership, and we're going to do that at the MBL, the final segment, the Crossfire segment, and that's where you're going to be able to basically choose the topic. If your topic that you want to talk about gets selected and comes on the show, you get entered in a drawing that our guy Gibbs is going to be doing. So it's going to be pretty fun. So stick around for that. Lipp, how you feeling today, man?
I feel great. I'm excited. I'm ready to get this show rolling.
All right, so we're going to start the 2-minute drill right meow. At this point in the season, who is the best team in the AFC West? We got the 6-3 Chargers, Lipp, and also the 6-3 Kansas City Chiefs, led by Bronco.
Well, right now, they're both 6-3. They're pretty much even in all categories except one. Both have low defensive end stats, except the Chiefs are 23rd in points allowed. The Chargers are 6th. I think that is the deciding factor for the Chargers.
All right, how real is the Ravens halfback Thomas Rolls? He's currently leading the MBL in rushing in season 21. Will he be able to continue this pace?
I tell you what, this guy is a monster, and he is the real deal. Rawls is the leading rusher in NBL at a monstrous 6.4 yards per carry. He's tied for second in the league in touchdowns with 7, and he is definitely the building block for the future of the Baltimore Ravens.
All right, Lipp, believe it or not, we've been stressing this hashtag car overrated. Well, it might be done because the Oakland Raiders and Project Fat are on a 2-game winning streak. That's right, 2 games. That's a big deal for them. How do they continue this success?
Hey, look, first game against the Browns, Murray carried the ball 17 times, 104 yards. Second win against the Chiefs, Murray carried the ball 21 times for 139 yards. This man is the key to Oakland's success. Give Latavius Murray the ball.
All right, the Giants, the Browns, the Cardinals, and the Jets, they all drafted rookie quarterbacks in the top 6 picks last season, NBL season 21, the rookie draft. Who has been the most successful of those quarterbacks to this point?
Gabriel Woodson. The guy has come out. He's been hurt a little bit, but he has the best touchdown-interception ratio, and he's got his team sitting at 5-4. He missed some time with the injury, but that guy is not letting it hold him back.
All right, you got 17 seconds. The Bills are 6-3. Jaguars 6-3. Who was a better signing, Drew Brees or Matt Ryan? Matt Ryan's currently playing for the Buffalo Bills. Drew Brees on the Jaguars. So who's better?
Matt Ryan, 7 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, sacked 19 times, QBR 74. Brees is 6 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, sacked 14 times with a QBR 69. But here's the key. Matt Ryan's making $10 million compared to Drew Brees' $3 million. So I'm going with Drew Brees and the Jaguars.
Yeah, very cost-effective signing for the Jacksonville Jaguars, signing Drew Brees. And that's going to do it for our 2-minute drill. Now, right now, we're going to kick it to our sponsor. That's right, web3ks.com. Check out this commercial. These guys, this is where you go to get all your affordable graphics, high quality, and they're going to meet all your creative needs. So let's go ahead right now. Gibbs is going to play our commercial for web3ks.com. Let's check them out and give them some support. Are you looking for affordable graphic design? Well, the Madden Bomber League has you covered. Our sponsor at web3ks.com can do anything you want. They always go, Bomber, where'd you get those intros? Web3ks.com. Bomber, where'd you get them graphics? Web3ks.com. So you guys need to check it out. If you run a CFM, if you got a Twitter account, if you got a YouTube account, and you're looking for some nice, clean, affordable graphics, go to web3ks.com and he will fulfill all your graphics needs. All right, fellas, we are back, and we're going to be talking about the Miami Dolphins right now. That's right, they're currently 0-9. Last year, Lipp, they finished 0-16, but they suffered a huge injury to the number 1 overall pick in the MBL Season 21 rookie draft. That's right, Christopher Herndon is out, and my reports say that he broke his ribs last week. He missed 5 weeks, so he's got 4 weeks left. 2 to 4 weeks they're saying, but they're going to say they're going to take it slow with this guy. It's his first season in the NBL. He's got a huge career ahead of him. So currently, right now, they're looking at about a 4 weeks, so possibly he comes back, week 13, week 14 maybe for Christopher Herndon. How bad does this hurt this Miami Dolphins team that Cuba's really trying to rebuild defensively?
Well, I think if you look at the stats from last year to this year, last year they were bottom, 2 or 3 teams in defense all across the board. This year they've increased a little bit. Their pass defense is up to 21st. They're allowing 22 points a game, which is 25th. That's better than last year. Even though this guy's stats aren't that great, I don't think he has an interception yet, but he is helping this defense play. It's sad that he's hurt, but as a young player, getting time, watching film, going over things is going to help him, and he can still do that while he's injured.
Yeah, shout out to the chat right now. We got TFA, Homer's in the chat, Delvar's in the chat, Mr. Chunky from the Grid, and he's shouting out Miami Johnsons, which is a little nickname they came across earlier. I guess it's when they start playing well. So we haven't seen much of the Miami Johnsons. As you mentioned earlier, how much Herndon's injury is going to hurt. And here's where I think it's going to hurt even more. And I think on the defensive end, this team that's been one of their better features. I mean, obviously their rushing attack is 8th, their passing is 21st, but their offense have been so poorly in the run game, 32nd, 18th, 28th, 32nd. So, I mean, once they start passing the ball, that's really when they get into trouble. So I think without this guy on the field and his presence, you're going to see teams start running up the score quickly. They're going to lose that dimension to run and pass. And then it's going to set them up just for failure later on in the game. Let's continue to talk about Miami a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. I like Rashad Jones at safety. Is there any other players on that team that you think could step up with his injury to Herndon right now, with him being out? Is there any players that you could see a little bit more from and think maybe they could step up for this team?
Well, Xavier Howard's been there, and he has played okay over his career. Another guy that hasn't really played isn't one of those guys that shows up on the stat sheet, but he has been part of this defense, working with Herndon to make the defense better, even though the stats aren't quite there yet. Last year he had 1 interception. This year he's already up to 3. I think that's a guy that, along with Herndon, can make this secondary and this entire defense a lot better.
Yeah, really surprised Herndon only has 1 sack thus far in the season and no interceptions. He was such a ball hawk in college. We expected a lot more from him still early in the season. Definitely not calling him a bust. Do you think the Dolphins, before we get off this topic, you think the Dolphins are going to come away with the win this season? They're currently 0-9, 0-16 last year. Is this going to be the 0-32, that dirty 0-32 team that Cuba's got right now? This is what's going to happen?
No, I think that you've still got a bunch of games left. I think that they have a game against the Jets left at home that I think that they could pull out. They have a game against the Bills at home I think they could pull out. This team is not lost. There's also a shot at the end of the season against the Titans. I think that they could pull out. Well, if Herndon comes back by then, him and Howard get playing well together, play some strong defense, play smart on offense, I definitely think there's opportunities for the Dolphins to get a win.
Yeah, and I'm going to interject my point a little bit. It's kind of like, their defense has to pull their offense, and their defense has to shut down the other team's offense. So this defense has to put up points for this team to win, because this offense of this team is just pretty bad. Let's check out the chat real quick before we move on topics. Homer says the D-line needs to get there quicker, take the pressure off the secondary. Yeah, that definitely could help Herndon. And they also said Denver Broncos from the Grid, I believe. Loving the live feed, guys. This is awesome. Well, thank you for the support. Appreciate that. Now we're going to move topics. We're going to switch. We're going to be talking Los Angeles Rams. That's right. Pretender or contender. And everyone's like, okay, the Rams are 8-1, Lipp. Is this team the real deal? That's what we're all wondering. That's what we're all thinking. Looking from the outside, 8-1, obviously they're real deal. I say hold up a little bit. This team has had a pretty easy schedule. They're coming off a loss to the Vikings, where Goff threw 3 interceptions. I believe Gibbs has some footage for us. Todd Gurley post game, he gets a little snippy with the reporter, asking questions here about how well how well they played or the struggles on offense. You know, there's just questions along those lines. And Gurley, I mean, they were undefeated up until this point, and he wasn't having it. So let's check out that video. Gibbs is going to put it up for us, and we'll check out this Todd Gurley post game after the Week 9 loss to the Vikings.
Todd, your offense finally broke some holes for you. You were able to get a little bit momentum. Why weren't you able to capitalize enough today, your offense overall?
I felt like we did a pretty good job. You know, I don't know what you're talking about, but you know, I felt like we did pretty good overall as an offense. We just got to not turn the ball over.
All right, so we saw Gurley get a little snippy. I like the little I don't know what you're talking about to the reporter. So, I mean, this team seems like they don't really handle losing well. So maybe this team is a little bit more of a contender than I thought. I mean, they have that they want to win. As we're looking at Gurley right now, a graphic with Gurley, Tavon Austin, and Jared Goff. Are these three, are they ready for this kind of spotlight yet? It seems like a little premature for a team so young to be 8-1 right now. But their schedule has been a little, you know, Lipp, it's been a little easy. Let's be honest so far.
Yeah, if we're looking at this schedule, I might be wrong. Go ahead and correct me, but I don't think that they have played anybody with a winning record outside of the Vikings and the Bears, who are both 5-4. They're just barely over the 500 mark there. So I wouldn't get too carried away. But look, Todd Gurley, the guy just wants to win. The guy goes out there, got beat up all year last year, wants to go out, compete for his team, put his team in a position to win. I understand the fire and the heart, and he's young, and this is a very young team. I wouldn't say that they're overrated or anything right now because they're playing very well for how young they are. But right now with that clip, I'm just seeing a bunch of young guys with a lot of fire, a lot of passion, and they want to put it together.
And let's add to the young guys. They got a wide receiver, Tyrone Jeffrey, who they drafted in the 3rd round from the University of Florida. And this Gator's been pretty much balling thus far for the Los Angeles Rams. And Jay Moon, he just moved into that number 2 spot on the depth chart. He beat out Brian Quick. So, man, you're talking young, energy, speed. This team's got it all on the offensive side of the field. But, I mean, people really aren't believing in them. As you look at John Blevins, Decadog from the MBL, he's the owner of the 49ers. He plays them twice a season. And his comment right now in the chat right now is, I can't see them getting to the NFC Championship. Now, that's kind of that's a little knock. This is a division thing right here. Do we take this as a division rivalry? Or is this a true story with what Decadog's saying about that Rams team right now?
Hey, in this league, nobody knows you better than the guys that play you twice a year, the guys in your division. Those games are completely different than any other games in NBL. So if Deca and the 49ers ownership there doesn't believe that the Rams are worthy of the NFC championship game, then I would have to lean with them because they see them and they play against them, and this is definitely going to heat up the competition for the next time that these two teams meet up.
Yeah, and going back to that video clip, what I wanted to mention on that was Goff is the one that had 3 interceptions. So it isn't like Todd Gurley fumbled the ball that game in the loss to the Vikings, right? So I'm thinking, he keeps talking about these turnovers. We got to protect the ball. We got to stop turning it over. Man, is those little pop shots of Jared Goff right there? I mean, one loss, and we're seeing a little bit of divide between the halfback and the quarterback, maybe.
I think that could be a thing, but like I said, I don't think that this is the team falling apart. Like I said, they're young, man. They're just out there. They're trying to put this together, and they don't have a whole lot of experience. So you're going to see these little outbursts at times of loss. They're 8-1. I'd like to see them say, you know what, it's just a bad game. It's just one game. We're 8-1. We'll be fine. But you know what? They're young, don't have a whole lot of experience. It's okay.
Well, they bounced back versus their division rival Cardinals in Week 10, winning 32-13. But let's take a look at this schedule upcoming. And, man, if I told you that their schedule gets a little tougher, that'd be an understatement. Guys in the chat, I want y'all to comment on this. Week 11, they have the Packers, who are 6-3. Week 12, they have the Chargers, who are 6-3. Week 13, they go on the road against the Falcons, who are 4-5, and we all know that 4-5 Falcons team is dangerous, right? Week 14, they come back home against the Cowboys, also another 5-4. You know, these 4-5, 5-4 teams that they're playing are teams that fully capable of making runs towards the end and going on a streak. Then they have to go on the road and play the Lions, who are 8-1. Then they finish their season with Seattle and Kansas City has been, man, they've been living up to the hype with Trey McIntyre, TM3 but under center, you know. So man, this Ravens team, I'm looking at these final games. How many is it? Let's count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Final 7 games. I could see them going 1-6 or 2-4. 1-6 or 2-5 in these final 7 down the stretch, just because I don't even know how tested this team is yet, Lipp. I'm very concerned about the schedule down the stretch. I'm happy this young team is 8-1 right now. It's showing that they're above the average, but now they're having to play the above the average teams, and we're going to see where they really stand in the NBL.
Hey, I think that you could see this team easily. There's a big risk there for them to drop 5 games in a row if they're not careful. And this could be one of the biggest collapses that we've seen. And we all know what happened with Draco, the Bears, Jay Cutler last season. I would be very careful over the next 5 to 6 games if I was the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, and from the chat, Cortez Logan, Heartless, he's the owner of the New York Giants in the NBL, and he's saying he doesn't see this Rams team getting to 10 wins. So he's seeing that 1-6 and maybe 2-5 at best, them getting exactly to 10, but they're not getting any more than 10. A lot of people saying 10-6. Homer's saying 10-6 is going to be their record. Now, Lipp, my question to you guys and the guys in the chat, if they finish 10-6 after starting 8-1, who's that kind of remind you of from NBL season 20 last year? That reminds me of the Chicago Bears, who were 9-1 at one point and fell apart and ended up finishing 10-6. And what happened to them? They missed the playoffs, and another guy from their division stole their wild card spot. So they lost their division in the wild card. I don't see them losing the division, though. I think they'll maintain and hold on to the division just because the majority of their wins have came against their division thus far, which is a good sign for them if you're a Rams fan. You know, if you're an LA Rams fan in the NBL, you like Jay Moon. He was NBL season 18 Super Bowl champion. He won with the New England Patriots, if I believe I'm right. So, I mean, he's got that pedigree, but I just don't think his team's ready yet. But I do think they will have a home game come wild card time. Let's check out the chat just a little bit more and check out what people are saying thus far. A lot of 10-6s. Nick Mazesco, he's the owner of the Carolina Panthers, known as OSU. I got Rams at 11-5. And then Broncos from the grid is saying, luckily, that NFC West is pretty weak. And I agree. The NFC West isn't playing good this year. And then we can go on to Seattle, and we can look at the Seattle Seahawks and basically determine, you know, what's going on there. They were winning the division. They're now 3-6. They don't even have a first or second round pick next year, and that's going to Cincinnati. So there's a lot of problems going on in this West, and I see a lot of upside with this Rams team, Lipp.
Yeah, I see a lot of upside, but I'm telling you, I think that 9-7 is where they're going to end up. I see a lot of tough games on that schedule, and not only is it's all of their tough games mashed into the back end of the season. Guys are hurt, guys are tired. It's that grind, and you're playing a lot of good teams. A couple teams in that 5 are having down years for their usual, seasons, but it's still very tough, and I think that 9-7, maybe 10-6 is where we will see these Rams. I do think they're going to win the division for sure, but I don't see them winning many more games than 10-6.
Yeah, apologies to Denver Broncos in the chat. That is Porter, who is the owner of the Denver Broncos in the NBL. But Lipp, I mean, all in all, everything on the table right now, Rams should be happy, because they obviously are the dominant team in that division, and that's what you strive for as a franchise in the NBL, to dominate your division first, especially with the young talent that they have.
Yeah.
They start winning their division, the upside is huge now. Now they start separating themselves from being a division winner and becoming one of the elite teams in the NBL, but I'm going to have to see a lot more consistency from the Los Angeles Rams moving forward. So most of the chat has them about 10 wins, so that's where we're going to see them probably finish with such a tough schedule in their final 7 games. All right, guys, Gibbs is about to send us to commercial right now. That's the 365 website. So if you're interested in joining the NBL, go to 365.maddenbomberleague.com. Fill out your application, submit it. You'll start in the grid. That's our development league. We have a lot of things going on over there. N-Train runs that. He's also an admin in the NBL. It basically will get you ready and get you prepared, and you can show us what kind of content and what kind of stuff you can bring to the NBL. So check that out. Right now we're going to go to our commercial break, and we'll be back in just a minute. Looking for Madden Bomber League history, content, and news? Go to 365.maddenbomberleague.com. Don't forget to give us a follow on Twitter @BomberLeague, and hit that like button and that subscribe on our MBL Network YouTube channel, and support one of the fastest growing leagues in the Madden community. All right, guys, we are back. That's right. It's the Commissioner Corner podcast live. I'm your host, Bomber. We got Lipp alongside me. You probably already heard this spiel already. But, man, we're just excited to be here. This is episode number 10. This is actually our second live podcast. It's been going really well. Lipp, give us your thoughts on this podcast so far being live and what kind of interaction you feel we can have with the audience as we grow and continue to further grow this brand and our audience as far as the Commissioner Corner podcast.
Yeah, and I wanted to give a special shout out to Gibbs for running all this stuff behind the scenes. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of prep. It's a lot of knowing what you got to do, when you got to do it. And him stepping up in this role of setting up all of the videos and all that stuff has really allowed you and I to put more focus on the show. And a huge shout out to him for what he's been doing and really making this show able to be live and allowing us to interact with the audience more. It's taken this thing to a whole new level.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, man, what Gibbs does for us, man. And he's future Hall of Famer, man. Let's just say it. Gibbs is going to be an MBL Hall of Famer.
For sure.
For sure. 100%. He's in the running right now. He's got 5 guys, and then it's going to dwindle down to 2 guys, the final 2 at the end of this year, and then the NBL Hall of Fame winner will be announced the following year. And we all expect it to be Gibbs. He's done such a great job for this league and for our community. So a big shout out to him and just doing some great work. Also, a shout out to Fries. He's donating those 3-month Xbox Live Gold membership cards. That's right. You're going to get Xbox Live for free for 3 months. If you just stick around, we're going to have the drawing and the giveaway in the MBL Crossfire segment, which is going to be our final segment where you choose the topic. But now it's time to get back to the show. And guess what we got coming up? We got a new little segment we're doing. It's called Upset of the Week. So we do our podcast every other week. And whatever games that happen between those 2 weeks, usually about 6 weeks in game, we're going to start doing our Upset of the Week pick. And this week we went with the Week 9 NBL Season 21. Just happened Week 9. We're currently in Week 10, Lipp? I believe we're in Week 10 right now.
Yes, we'll be moving to Week 11 here shortly.
We'll be moving to Week 11 tomorrow. So this was Week 9. We got the Ravens, owned by CMF, taking it on division rival, the Cincinnati Bengals, owned by Sonny, one of the top tier owners in the NBL. And it was an upset, man. The Ravens hung on and they beat the Bengals 36-31. That was our upset of the week. And we got some video from Andy Dalton, who threw 2 interceptions this game, and he just seems really upset after this loss. Man, really down on himself for a team that was undefeated coming into this game as well. So we had a couple undefeated teams we've talked about. So let's take a look at Andy Dalton after Bengals get their first loss of NBL Season 21.
We didn't execute and we got beat. That's what it comes down to. We didn't start fast, and that's on me. I gotta obviously play better, and so when you take turns, missing assignments, missing a throw, missing whatever it might be, it's not gonna turn out well for you, and that's what happened tonight.
All right, with that win, the Bengals improved to 3-6 on the season. Maybe a little bit of a moral victory for the Baltimore Ravens at this point. 3-6. They've started 3 different quarterbacks this year. That's right. Joe Flacco, Alan Paradise, and Drew Witten have started. So, man, Flacco's started off really hot. Got benched for a younger Alan Paradise who's played pretty well, still a little inconsistent. As we remember him with the New York Jets last season in NBL Season 20, he played good in sparing minutes with them as well. So maybe not the answer at quarterback for Baltimore, but a big win Week 9 versus the Cincinnati Bengals. That definitely has to make this team feel like they're playing a little bit of spoiler and also getting some division pop shots in on their opponent.
Look, this Ravens team it's pretty good, and the slow, patient building that they have done and they will continue to do, every single game they believe they're in it. It doesn't matter what their record is, from ownership down to every player on that team. They believe they are the best team, the best players on the field every time they go out there. And I think what happened here was the Bengals watched the Ravens destroy the Steelers a few weeks before that, didn't take them seriously, came out and didn't play defense. Against this Ravens team, you cannot not play defense because this team can put up points There's a lot of different guys contributing at quarterback, like you mentioned, but they've got that guy, Thomas Rawls, and he will light you up if you are not prepared to play defense. And the Bengals did not come to play.
Yeah, you look at a 3-6 team like Baltimore, Lipp, and I'm like, I'm surprised that they're splitting the division, the games with the Steelers and the Bengals thus far. They had a huge win against your Steelers, 49-17, week 2, which was
huge,
probably the most points you've given up in the last 3 seasons. So, kind of like, wow, what's going on with Baltimore here? Baltimore started off 2-0, then they lost to the Browns, then they lost to the Bengals. They're back to 2-0, and then they lost to the Chiefs. 2-3, lost to the Saints. So it just all started falling downhill for them. They ended up being about 2-5, 2-6, and then took the win against the Bengals. And just recently played you really tough in a Week 10 game. You squeaked by 27-24 versus Baltimore. What does Baltimore got to look at going forward? What are some positives they can take from this season? Obviously, a gritty team that doesn't give up, but you're going to need a little bit more than that to turn the corner and hit that 500 record and then start making a drive to be a potential playoff team in the NBL.
Look, their defense is very good. They play smart defense. They could fill in a couple positions here and there. Their offense is already lights out. If they get a quarterback that can consistently grow over the course of 16 games, I think this team becomes very dangerous. Because if you look at Thomas Rawls and what he's been doing, we already talked about him. He's leading the league in rushing yards, 6.4 yards per carry. This guy is a monster. But if you look at this game against the Bengals, okay, Thomas Rawls gets the ball 20 times in his hands, goes for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he says that's not enough. From the 3-yard line, you can go check this out on our YouTube channel. Thomas Rawls from the 3-yard line throws a 3-yard touchdown pass against the Bengals just to rub it in. And that is just the type of player this guy is. He can do it all. And that this is going to be a dominant run game going forward. And once they got a quarterback that can consistently throw, it's going to be a scary team.
So Thomas Rawls, you think, is a superstar in the NBL?
Oh, absolutely. The guy's
25 years
old, lights out. He's only got so much. He's got so much room to grow, and he's already playing incredible football.
Well, I mean, he was behind the Seattle line last year, who did pretty well running the ball, and he only averaged 2.6 yards per carry in NBL season 20. Season 21, he's at 6.4 yards a carry, 7 touchdowns, 746 yards, and we're at week 10. So you think this guy's a superstar in the making thus far? I'm still a little too early for me to say that about Thomas Rawls. I've obviously seen some positive things, and especially coming with a team that struggles passing the ball. So anytime I see somebody being able to run as dominant as him in an offense that lacks a passing attack, it really makes me wonder if they ever got anybody under center, how deadly this team could be. So going into the offseason, I don't see the free agents in this draft, and I think the Ravens might have missed. There was 4 star quarterbacks that came out in this last draft.
Yeah.
Obviously, as we mentioned before, the Jets got one, the Browns got one, the Giants got one, and the Cardinals got one. All 4 of those guys, star potential. In my opinion, Woodson is the best one with the Jets, but I also like Allen from Arizona, great quarterback over there. And the other 2 are just as good. I really like the Browns quarterback as well. So, I mean, I like all those 4. I think they might have missed on this quarterback thing, though. I think their best bet is to find somebody. And I'm hearing, and this is breaking news right now, from the Packers GM and owner Train that Aaron Rodgers might be released for cap room next year. And I think that would be an ideal situation for Rodgers to come to a team like Baltimore and play with those young, big receivers that they have and CMF has placed on that team thus far.
Yeah, they have a lot of young talent. They have a lot of guys that have potential to be absolute stars. If they got a guy like Aaron Rodgers to come in, I think that would be disaster for the other teams in the North, because I think that offense would just run through these defenses. The only issue is I'm not sure what the cap situation is right now with Flacco. I do believe I've heard CMF talk about Flacco being able to be released this season. I'm not quite sure. It might be hard to bring in Rodgers with that situation if you have to keep Flacco, but if
it's cap constraints. Yeah, we're on the same page with that. They'd have to be able to dump the Flacco contract, which I don't know, because the cap penalty is so high, if that would even be cost effective or something viable they should do. We're getting some response from the owner of the Packers right now, really downplaying the value of Thomas Rawls right now. saying he's trash, but I mean, I'm looking at the Packers team. Eddie Lacy, 2.3 yards per carry. Presley, 2.7 yards per carry.
Hey.
You're gonna tell me a guy averaging
Hey.
6.4 yards per carry is trash? Man, I just having a hard time believe that there's anything of substance in that comment.
Hey, a few weeks ago, I believe we did an MBL live game of the Packers versus the Redskins, and I watched Eddie Lacy just trip, stumble, bumble nowhere into the back of his lineman for 0.8 yards per carry. I don't think that Train should be judging other running backs in the MBL.
Yeah, definitely having a hard time running are the Green Bay Packers. They've actually, one of the bright spots has been the consistent play from Aaron Rodgers and his leadership on the field. So losing him might really hurt this franchise, but it's a financial thing, man. It comes up to, hey, we're 6-3 right now. In Green Bay, Train's always thinking, you got to think Super Bowl. You got to think NBL Super Bowl. If you don't feel this guy's contract with his production is going to equate into that, he's 34 years old. He's going to be 35 next year. He might be a free agent. We've seen it happen with Drew Brees. We saw it happen with Matt Ryan, NBL season 20. These quarterbacks getting cut, and they're having relative success. Maybe not playing the best as Matt Ryan in Buffalo in his career, but he can make throws, and I think that's one thing that you need to have as a quarterback, a guy that can make throws. Maybe he's making a little bit more mistakes, and he's not as strong-armed as he was at one point in his career, but still being able to make that throw could really help take a team over that hump and put them into a playoff potential team.
Yeah, I think with the Packers, look, you can't replace Rodgers, and getting rid of him is a huge loss. But you talk about the money and if it fits. I think with the weapons that this Packers team has for a quarterback, I think that they could draft a guy and be okay. They just re-signed Randall Cobb, I believe. They've got Devontae Adams. They've got Paul Richardson, who is an undervalued tool. And they also have Jordan Cameron at tight end. So I think that a new guy will have plenty of weapons to play with if you do have to move on from Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, definitely some interesting things to see. And speaking of moving on, the Dallas Cowboys announced via Twitter, I believe 2, maybe 3 days ago, that Randy Gregory contract extensions have stopped, and then his agent released information that he's going to be testing the waters in free agency. Now, I'm a huge Randy Gregory fan. You know what he did in NBL season 20, Lipp? I mean, he had 15 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 touchdowns. You know what he's doing in NBL season 21?
Nothing.
3 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 touchdown. So huge drop off in production, and Dallas is noticing. I mean, man, this was if the years were reversed, this guy could have really gotten paid by Dallas, who's already they're strapped for cap money right now because they got some big contracts out there. They have a middle linebacker big contract out there. So man, this is huge news.
Yeah, and DK down there in Dallas, he's a guy that's always one step ahead on the defensive side of the ball. If he's letting Randy Gregory walk and not worried about it, I might be a little hesitant going into negotiations with him. However, the guy is 25 years old. He could be a young stud and just be a complete monster for a bunch of defenses in NBL. But that drop-off from 15 sacks to just 3 is very eye-opening.
You got to wonder if it's more. If it's something more. Is there something
Absolutely.
off the field? Is there something here that we don't see because we're from the outside looking in, and we're from the outside looking in, and they're inside looking out, and they're seeing something about this guy. They're letting him go. Those are the questions that a contender that has money needs to ask if they're going to be willing to spend. I mean, this team is, like I said, they have some cap issues, man. Signing that off, keeping that offensive line together. They're going to have to keep Zeke on the team next year. They're paying Dante Hightower $11.5 million this year. He's still got a year left on his contract. So, man, I just. It would just suck to really see that guy leave Dallas. But who did they lose last year? What was the guy? DeMarcus Lawrence?
Yes.
The defensive end. They just lost him. They couldn't sign him. So, I mean, we're seeing a little bit of a collapse of the Dallas Cowboys right now. Right before our eyes, it's a slow collapse, but it's really even affected in the play of Dallas. Because what's Dallas's record right now? I'm looking at this team, and what are they, 5-4 right now?
Yep.
Cowboys 5-4. What were they at this point last year, 9-0? They started
I
off.
believe
I
so.
think they won like their first 11 or 12 games last year in NBL season 20. So, man, we're seeing guys leave and we're seeing production drop off. Players are asked to do a little bit more, and they just don't have the talent there, man. That's just the honest truth about what's going on with these Dallas Cowboys.
I think that if you look at this from an owner's perspective, especially DK's perspective, I think DK knows a lot about defense, and I think that he can let that guy walk, find a cheaper option to bring in, teach him how to play defense, but really prepared to re-sign Zeke, a guy who's going to touch the ball, 250, 300 times, maybe even more. And that's the guy that you want to give the money to. And a guy like DK, probably not worried about Gregory so much. It would be much harder for DK if he if he re-signed Gregory and then had to worry about losing Zeke. Be much more difficult challenge for DK.
I think they're both hard, man. I mean, this was a top 5 defense, Lipp, that passing last year, they were number 2. You know what they're rated now? 22nd. They lost Lawrence. Now they're going to lose Gregory. They're getting no pressure on the defensive line. So it's almost reversing the role. Dallas's offensive line is providing them all kinds of time in the pocket, right? That's a fact. Dallas's offensive line is providing that run game all kinds of holes. That's a fact. But if their defense is allowing just the same on that side of the ball, then it's essentially the same thing, and it's just like they're just colliding with each other, and they don't really have any scheme once they lose that kind of talent.
I think it's a down year for the Dallas Cowboys. They're working in some new schemes, and they will get it together in this offseason, this draft, and moving on for next season.
All right, before we get off this topic, the Dallas, are they going to win that division? They've won the division 2 times in a row. They're going for the three-peat. They're obviously behind a little bit right now to the 7-2 Washington Redskins, owned by Gubb. Dallas is 5-4. It looks like a two-team race in the NFC East. Are they going to be able to come back and beat the Redskins for this division, or are the Redskins going to take it?
Hey, doors wide open. You're back 2 games, and you've got 2 games against the Redskins. Yeah. Doors wide open for the Dallas Cowboys.
7 games remaining in the season, and they got two of them against. Yeah.
I mean, it's no cakewalk, but if you apply yourself, if you guys, get it together, you've got those 2 games against the Redskins. It is very possible. They just got to turn it around right now.
Well, I want to, dude. I want the Redskins to win this division. I'd love to see it. My heart, wants to see it. But my brain is telling me otherwise. I think the Cowboys come back. They sweep the division, even though the Redskins played them so tough last year. But this is it. The Cowboys, there's no slouching right now. They need to win some games, because if they lose a couple more, they get into that weird territory where you start thinking, that wild card last year, 10-6 team didn't make it. Do we want to be that 10-6 team? I don't think it's going to go that far, but I definitely am concerned. Now, we're going to move on to the final topic. This is the MBL Crossfire segment. This is where you choose the topic. Now, if your topic gets selected and talked about on this episode, you go into a drawing that Gibbs is going to have on this show live. And if you win, you get 3 months Xbox Live Gold. That's right, a giveaway, I believe, a value of like $25. It's a card, and we'll give it to you right after. We'll send you the information for the card so you can use it. And it'll give you 3 months free of Xbox Live, courtesy of one of our members, Fry, donating to the league. We want to say thank you for that. So that's our first giveaway on the Commissioner Corner podcast. We're going to be doing a lot of giveaways. We're going to do MBL Network t-shirts next time we're on. We're going to be giving away an extra large one of those. I mean, same kind of topic. Get in the choose your topics. Get involved in the show. And if your topic gets chosen, then you enter the little drawing we'll have at the end, and we'll just randomly select the winner live on the show before we get off the air. So our first topic, Lipp, is from Porter. He wants to know about the Kansas City Chiefs. He wants to know about Brocco. And you have a little history with them. It's a small history, but man, I mean, there was some competition brewing. The Chiefs came out on top. I believe y'all's game went to overtime.
Yep.
They want to know, man. You got firsthand. I haven't seen Trey McIntyre. I've only seen his stats, and I see up and down. But this year, I see a little bit trending up for Trey McIntyre, TM3. So is he the real deal or not?
Yeah, and I was very, very, very critical of Trey McIntyre whenever he first came out in his first season of production. I was very critical of him, and I put a lot of pressure on him. And the growth that he's taken from season 1 to season 2 is the growth that I expect to see from a lot of guys. Those guys that we talked about from the Cardinals, the Browns, and so on. That growth is is tremendous. It's very hard to do, but Trey McIntyre did it. He's got this offense firing, top 10 in MBL right now. The issue with them is their defense is at the absolute bottom of the league right now. 29th in points, 30th in yards. They've got to fix that defense, but once they do, this will be a very, very dominant team in MBL.
Yeah, but can they see, that's the thing about Trey McIntyre. So I look at Woodson in New York, as you mentioned, the Browns quarterback, the rookie, and then we're going to mention the Cardinals quarterback, the Giants quarterback. These are all rookies, so Trey McIntyre's got a year on them. And Trey McIntyre was very inconsistent his first year, but his defense has always been just so bad. Like, he's got to honestly carry this team, and I'm seeing a QBR increase this season of from 81.5 last year to 89.6. He's 16 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Last year he was 22 touchdowns, 32 interceptions. His completion percentage went from 62 to 64. So I'm seeing it trending upward on paper, at least, for Trey McIntyre. I've watched a little bit of his game. I've caught a couple Kansas City streams, and I think that Trey McIntyre is going to have a good career, and I think they will be real, because I think the Raiders are struggling. I think the Broncos are definitely struggling with Paxton Lynch.
Yeah.
And I think the Chiefs will compete with the Chargers for this division, believe it or not. And if you would have told me that last year, if I'd have said that to myself last year, I would have said, man, you're crazy, man. What'd you take today, man? Something's wrong. All right, so moving on, Mr. Chunky, that's a Grid Colts owner. Who do you think will be in the Super Bowl this year is what he asked. NBL Season 21 Super Bowl. The last 2 years, it was Pittsburgh and Dallas. Pittsburgh came away both times. So DK has been dubbed the Buffalo Bills of the NBL. I believe he has 5 Super Bowl appearances with 0 Super Bowl wins. I don't see the Cowboys making it back this year. So my pick, man, I hate to say it, man, because I know the guy won't shut up if he makes it, but I think Sonny has a legit chance of making the Super Bowl this year, unless he completely collapses. So I would go Cincinnati Bengals, and I could see the Washington Redskins sneaking in there. And that's just, I'm obviously not looking to pick my own team or Lipp's team right now. Those are the 2 teams that I'd select right now. And I'd like to see Cincinnati versus Washington, because I think that would be very intriguing to see 2 teams that have never made the Super Bowl before battle it out. In NBL history, we've never had the Redskins make it or the Bengals make it. Sonny obviously has an NBL Season 3 Super Bowl trophy with the Cleveland Browns, so we haven't seen anything from the Bengals, which is his hometown team. This is the team he came back. The city was waiting for him. They wanted him. They had banners up. Sonny, bring us a championship. He's failed to deliver, so maybe Season 21 could be his year.
I strongly disagree with your AFC pick, but I think in the NFC, I think that is the best selection, a solid selection. They are 5th in rush defense, which to win their division, they've got to contain the Dallas Cowboys and Zeke with the Washington Redskins. At 7-2 right now, I think they can hold off the Redskins. I think that they have the best chance to make it to the Super Bowl from the NFC. And from the AFC, I'm sticking with the team that I picked way back on draft night. I loved what the Chargers have done the last 2 seasons. They brought in a young quarterback. They committed to him. They let him throw the picks. They let him take the sacks. They let him make mistakes. And now they've got him in a good position, 6-3. On the defensive side, they drafted 2 rookies. I believe a linebacker and a safety, or a linebacker and a corner. I do believe it was a corner. And those guys are coming along. By the time playoffs hit, this team is going to rip through the AFC. They will definitely be in the Super Bowl from the AFC. I think it will be Chargers and Redskins.
Oh, that's an interesting pick. I like the Chargers, so I can't say nothing bad about them. I definitely like Prince. I think he's been a great owner in the NBL. He's always building his team, and he's very tough to beat, especially at home, man. He's been a really tough home team. San Diego's been. OSU wants to know how many NFC North teams will make the playoffs. So real quick, let's just give a number on that, and we can move on. We got about 4 or 5 more topics left before we wrap up the show. NFC North for me, Lipp, I'm gonna say Detroit makes it, and I'd say 2. I don't see those 5-4 teams right now. I mean, obviously right now you got 5-4 Minnesota, 5-4 Chicago, 6-3 Green Bay, 8-1 Detroit. I would say Green Bay or Chicago or Minnesota makes it as one of the wild cards, but I don't think they take both wild card spots. I think that's going to be reserved for the Redskins or Cowboys on that scenario. And also you got to look at the Saints and the Falcons, man. They could also do it. So the wild card race is going to be really tough in the NFC moving forward. But right now I'd say 2 teams at most.
Yeah, I think the Lions will definitely make it. I think there's a really good chance that another team from the NFC North will make it. I think it'll be the Packers. Uh, if the Falcons didn't have a fifth loss, if they were maybe 5-4 at this point, I think that the Cowboys will make it. I want to say that the Falcons will, but at 5 losses already, I think it'll be tough. But I do only think it will be the Lions and Packers in the NFC playoffs.
Yeah, so we're on the same page with that. All right, moving forward, our next topic, TFA, former owner in the MBL, currently in the grid. I believe he owns the New York Jets in the grid. Been really killing it with Jeremy Hill. Obviously making me look really bad, but thankfully Jeremy Hill took a long season injury, so the heat kind of went away. No Jeremy Hill, no problem in Detroit for the NBL thus far. He's making a ton of money, though. Got to figure that out. TFA wants to know which team below 500 has the best chance of making the playoffs. And Lipp, I honestly think it's the Atlanta Falcons right now at 4-5 in the NFC with the best chance. You also have Denver Broncos, honorable mention from me, Arizona Cardinals, but the wild card in the NFC is going to be so tough. That's where it's really. Oh well, yeah. So Denver Broncos and Arizona Cardinals 4-5, honorable mentions, but man, those are going to be tough to make wild cards in those divisions. Those are the only ones below 500 I see, but my bet would be Atlanta Falcons making it out of the teams that are currently below 500. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, looking around the league, I don't really see anyone other than the Cardinals and the Falcons that I would put in that conversation. Like we just talked about, making it into the NFC playoffs is going to be tough. Like I said, I think it'll be tough for the Falcons to make it at right now at 5 losses. There is a chance that they will win the division, but I just think they've dug themselves a hole and they haven't had time to consistently work together and prepare the right way. They're just playing kind of all over the place right now. I'm not even sure they can win the division. That would mean they'd have to go for a wild card, and I just don't see it happening right now.
All right, and our final topic of the day, J-Rod, also an owner in the grid, wants to know what team is best built for the future with picks, caps, management, youth, etc. So which team right now do you think is best built for the future? And I'm actually going to go with a person that I chose earlier. Maybe I should give this a little bit more thought. Let me think for a second. I want to say the Los Angeles Rams just because, man, they were just built. They have so much youth, and then they brought in another really young stud wide receiver. But if I just take a second to look, Lipp, any off the top of your head, outside of we've already talked about the Los Angeles Rams. So outside of the Los Angeles Rams, anybody else that kind of just stands out as a team that's built for the future that has, potential youth and has that cap space to make a big play and maybe even has some hidden gem talent and it has some good draft picks in the future?
I would like to say the Rams. They do have a good, setup there going. I would also consider the Bengals kind of. They do have a very good team.
Oh yeah, the Bengals have if y'all don't know, they have draft picks. They have a lot of draft picks in this draft. And one of the major picks is coming from the Seattle Seahawks. They have their first and second round, and the Seahawks are sitting at 3-6 right now. So if the Seahawks completely tank the rest of this season, this could be huge upside for Cincinnati. Another great management move by the Cincinnati Bengals owner, Sonny. So that could be a real threat. But I mean, who's filled with youth? I mean, and has the cap space open right now? Man, that's tough to say.
I really like this team. They're kind of pinched a little bit on cap. Right now they have $20 million in cap space free. I think they just had some big re-signings, so I think that's actually really good for the people they re-signed having $20 million. I really like this team, especially with their draft. I think that they draft very well. They drafted 2 guards, and they are really solidifying this offensive line, and that is the Minnesota Vikings. They're currently 5-4.
And I was actually just about to say that, man. Man, they did a great job drafting last year too. But go ahead.
And look, they've really tried to build this offensive line specifically. They brought in a group of running backs to try to run behind that line. I think maybe they'll draft a running back, and that'll really turn this into a really good run team. But look at the defense: 5th in points, 15 points a game, 2nd in yards allowed on defense. They're the 2nd best run defense, 5th best pass defense. This team is defensively built for the future, and offensively, the line is growing and developing, gelling together. This could be a very, very good team moving forward for the next 5 seasons.
Yeah, and I got a couple more honorable mentions for this topic right here. But yeah, as you said about the Vikings, and they got off to a really slow start. I believe they started 0-4 to start MBL season 21. So that was a completely I was expecting that because the team's so young. Now they start seeing this growth, and you're kind of start thinking, man, this team could be dangerous. Now they've won 3 of their last 4 of their last 5, and you start thinking, wow, okay, so this team is already starting to grow, and we're starting to see these strides being made because they're getting that on-field play and that on-field time with their players, and they're able to develop them that way, and that makes them very dangerous. Also, some honorable mentions, San Francisco 49ers. I really like Jawara Woodard, the quarterback they got there, another, not as good as Trey McIntyre, not as good as TM3, but definitely quarterback with a lot of potential, and I could see him growing into possibly being something more in San Francisco and them really building that offense. They have a lot of young receivers. Jamison Finley, I really like Jamison Finley on that team. Also, another team people were talking about was the Vikings, so you nailed that one. So that's going to pretty much
Well, hold on. I got one more guy from that 49ers team that I absolutely love.
Okay.
Jamal Blades. The
middle
the linebacker
name
has just come out, and he's played. I think he's in running for the Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Guy is just playing out of his mind on that defensive side of the ball, and I love that draft pick for that team back on draft night, and I think that like you said,
middle linebacker, right?
Yeah, middle linebacker. I think, like you said, Woodard on offense, Jamal Blades on defense. They got a lot to build around, and 2 amazing leaders on both sides of the ball.
And let's showcase Jamal Blades. He was the 27th pick in the first round. Jamal Blades thus far has 4 forced fumbles, 7 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 4 touchdowns on the offensive end. Wow. I mean, what a rookie year for that guy. Obviously, maybe defensive rookie of the year. He's only 22 years old, Lipp. 6'2", 235, University of Louisville, late first-round selection. This guy might be the steal of the draft on the defensive end.
Oh, yeah. At 27th pick, I saw him go into a number of teams early in the draft. A lot of people passed on him, but this guy has just come in and dominated for the San Francisco 49ers. And like I said, he is an elite leader. If you look around the league, you think of some of the best middle linebackers to be leaders. We think a couple years ago, many years ago, Ray Lewis. You think about
Rush Lunsford.
Yeah, Rush Lunsford. Luke Kuechly, guys like that. This is the kind of player that Jamal Blades is. These are the guys that we will be talking. So about.
You're putting him in NBL Players Hall of Fame already? 10 games in? You think so?
It's his rookie year. I'm not saying too much right now, but he is a lot like Rush Lunsford as far as this goes, and he is just one of the most incredible players. And it's been 10 games that I've seen so far at NBL.
Yeah, and working alongside Navarro Bowman as the owner of the 49ers, Deca says right now, Navarro Bowman has really taken him under his wing, and he's showing him around, man. And that kind of leadership, it's translating. Look at his production, man. And we all know what Lunsford did. He was a first ballot NBL Players Hall of Fame middle linebacker for the Denver Broncos, I believe from NBL season like 6 or 7 till about 13. You can find that on 365.maddenbomberleague.com. Man, the guy was just amazing player. But that's going to do it for our show. That's episode 10, and we got a winner selected. Gibbs has ran the test, the little drawing that we're doing, and the winner of the 3-month Xbox Live. Can we get a drum roll, Lipp? Oh, he did it with his mouth. He drum rolled with his mouth, guys. That's dedication right there.
You can't do push to talk and drum roll.
Oh, there you go. So look, he'd have to have 3 hands to make that happen.
It's hard. I could use something else, but we're not going to go there.
Okay, so we got wow. So we got the winner for the Xbox Live Gold, 3 months. The winner's going to be Porter, the owner of the Denver Broncos. His activity in the chat throughout the show was great. He had a topic that got selected, and the drawing came back, and he won. So thanks for all those who participated. Porter, go ahead and send a DM to Homer in the GroupMe chat, and Homer will get you your Xbox Live code courtesy of Fry, the owner of the Cleveland Browns and the MBL. So, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for giving us your feedback on the show. We always appreciate that. If you got any ideas, send me or Lipp a DM. Send Gibbs a DM in the GroupMe and let us know what we can do to make this live show better for y'all and better for us. And maybe y'all can come on and we can do some segments and we can really talk and grow this show. This is only our second live show, so if you saw any issues with anything, we're obviously working on that to fix it. But we definitely want to send a huge thanks to Gibbs behind the scene. We can't thank him enough. For the host, Bomber, my co-host, Lipp. This is our 10th episode, man, so thanks for tuning in. Lipp, you got any last words?
Yeah, last before we get out of here, I'd like to give a huge shout out to our guy Homer Hankey. What he's been doing with our betting lines here in season 21, I think that is one of the greatest additions to MBL lately. I love that you get all these guys so invested in every game each week. It's a great addition. A lot of hard work goes into it, and it looks very, very good on our screen when we pull it up. I like it a lot, and I just wanted to give a big shout out to him for doing that work.
Yeah, for sure. Homer does a lot of things that go unnoticed, man. Probably a future MBL Owners Hall of Fame guy as well, man. He'll probably be inducted very shortly as well. So once again, guys, for the whole crew here, thanks for tuning in. Commissioner Corner Podcast. This has been episode number 10 on January 12th. So continue to stay in. We'll be back in a couple weeks, and we'll continue rolling the show live. And once again, send us any DMs or just leave us any feedback if you got any. Y'all have a good night.